When someone you care about starts pulling away or distancing themselves, it hits hard. The confusion, the hurt, the sudden sense of rejection can feel like a punch to the gut. It's as if you're watching a door slowly close in your face, and without the right mindset, you're powerless to stop it. The temptation to react impulsively, to chase them down, or to try and fix things immediately is strong. But here's the critical truth. How you respond in these moments will shape more than just your relationship. It will shape your own growth, self-worth, and emotional well-being. In these high-stakes emotional moments, we often do exactly the wrong thing. We become desperate, needy, or even frantic, hoping that somehow this will draw them back in. But when fear drives your actions, you only create more distance, not less. That's why it's crucial to avoid these 10 common mistakes that can turn a challenging situation into an emotional disaster. Each one of these missteps can wreck your chances of reconnecting with them and can leave you feeling even more drained and self-doubting than before. Picture this. You're standing on a thin, frozen lake, watching the person you care about move farther away. Your first instinct is to rush after them, to close the gap. But with every hasty step, the ice cracks beneath you. The more you chase, the deeper you sink into a cold abyss of regret. The only way to save yourself is to pause, center yourself, and move forward with clarity, or even allow them to walk away without you. As the great philosopher Rumi once said, "Don't resist the changes that come your way. Let life live through you." Sometimes what feels like a setback may just be a stepping stone to something better. Now, in moments like these, your emotions are telling you to act fast, to fix the situation. But here's the harsh truth. Rushing in with impulsive actions will only make things worse. It's like trying to douse a fire by throwing gasoline on it. The only thing you'll accomplish is amplifying the pain. As Epictetus wisely stated, it's not the things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. How you choose to view and respond to this emotional challenge will determine whether you rise above it or get dragged under. And if you've already made those desperate, impulsive mistakes, don't worry. Growth doesn't come from avoiding failure, but from learning from it. Maya Angelou put it perfectly. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. This is your opportunity to reflect, adjust your approach, and emerge stronger the next time you face a similar challenge. If you're ready to learn how to navigate these situations with emotional strength, clarity, and wisdom, keep watching. And if this message resonates with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an empowering video like this one. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button. Not only does it show your support, but it also helps spread this message to others who need it. Let's share this wisdom together and create a community of strength and growth. Go ahead, hit the like button now, and let's get started. Number 1. Never lose your calm and temper. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a volcano, the pressure building beneath the surface. Every thought, every emotion, every frustration is like magma bubbling up, threatening to erupt. If you let your anger or panic take over, it's not just the volcano that explodes, it's everything around you. The eruption doesn't just harm the other person, it scorches you too. This is what happens when you lose your calm and let your temper run wild. When someone pulls away or distances themselves, it's easy to let emotions take control. You might feel hurt, rejected, or confused, and your mind starts creating stories about why they're pulling away. The instinct to fix things can trigger frustration, and soon you're on the edge of an emotional outburst. But here's the truth. Losing your temper only makes the situation worse. It pushes the other person further away, and what could have been a moment of connection becomes a battle of egos. Anger pushes them further back, and suddenly you're not dealing with the issue. You're just dealing with the fallout of your reaction. When you lose your temper, the focus shifts. Instead of addressing the real issue, why they're pulling away, your behavior becomes the problem. You might end up apologizing for your anger instead of working through the underlying tension. Then comes the regret, the guilt, the "why did I say that?" replay in your mind. That emotional turmoil doesn't just damage the relationship, it chips away at your self-esteem, leaving you second-guessing your reactions. Anger breeds more anger. If you lash out, they might lash back. They might withdraw even further, making what could have been a productive conversation into a full-blown emotional war. So, what can you do instead? Take a pause. When the storm of emotions starts rising, take a deep breath. Count to 10, and let that moment of stillness give you the space to regain control. It's okay to feel hurt, angry, or confused. These emotions are natural, they're part of being human, but they don't have to control you. Instead of reacting impulsively, remind yourself, "I choose calm over chaos." This simple affirmation shifts your mindset. When you feel the urge to react, tell yourself, "I will not let this emotion dictate my actions." Reframe the situation. Instead of viewing their distance as rejection, see it as an invitation for reflection. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? If you do decide to communicate, keep your tone measured. Instead of, "Why are you ignoring me?" try, "I've noticed some distance, and I'd like to understand how you're feeling when you're ready to talk." You're not just addressing the issue, you're demonstrating self-control and emotional maturity. Each time you manage your reactions, you strengthen your emotional resilience. Now imagine yourself as a ship's captain navigating through a storm. The waves are crashing, the crew is panicking, and the wind is howling. If you lose your cool and start shouting orders, the ship is doomed. But if you remain steady at the helm, if you keep your calm and navigate with clarity, you give everyone, yourself included, a chance to make it through the storm. In relationships, you're the captain of your emotions. You can't control the winds of conflict, but you can control how you steer your ship through it. As Viktor Frankl, a man who endured unimaginable hardship, once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." That space is where your strength lies. It's easy to react, but real power comes in choosing how to respond. Staying calm doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means channeling them in a way that reflects your best self. Let's be real. Staying calm in these moments is not easy. When someone you care about distances themselves, every part of you wants to react, to do something, anything, to fix it. But the greatest strength is in restraint. Resisting the urge to lash out takes discipline and emotional maturity, and it's what sets you apart from those who are controlled by their emotions. If you've lost your cool in the past, don't beat yourself up. Everyone makes mistakes. The key is learning from them and choosing to handle things better next time. Ask yourself, what triggered me? How can I react differently next time? Growth isn't about perfection, it's about progress. If you're ready to embrace this approach and commit to keeping your calm, drop the affirmation, "I choose calm over chaos," in the comments below. Let everyone know you're taking control of your emotions with strength and grace. True power is not about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. Every time you feel the urge to explode, remind yourself, "I choose calm over chaos." That simple phrase will ground you, remind you that composure is your greatest asset. So, take a deep breath, stand tall, and know that in the face of any storm, you have the power to stay calm, steady, and unshaken. When you do, you'll emerge not only stronger but wiser, ready to face whatever comes next with clarity and resilience. Ready to embody this strength? Let's take that first step together. Number 2. Not respecting their space. Imagine walking through a forest surrounded by towering trees. You notice one tree withering, its leaves drooping, and your immediate reaction is to overcompensate, to water it excessively, pour in nutrients, and hover nearby, watching it constantly. But in doing so, you're not helping. The more you try to fix it, the more you risk drowning it. Sometimes nature needs time to heal itself. The same goes for relationships, especially when someone pulls away. When someone starts to distance themselves, it can feel unnerving. The uncertainty stirs up anxiety. Did I do something wrong? What if I lose them? Your first instinct is to close the gap, maybe by calling, texting, or even confronting them. But here's the truth. When you fail to respect their need for space, you're likely making things worse. Instead of drawing them closer, your actions can push them even further away, overwhelming them with pressure and making them feel trapped. This is how you can unintentionally suffocate the connection rather than allowing it to breathe and heal. Disrespecting someone's need for space sends a clear signal that you're unable to cope with the discomfort of uncertainty. It can make the other person feel like their autonomy is being suffocated or that they're being held to emotional ransom. The worst part, this doesn't build trust, it erodes it. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, and part of that respect is giving each other room to breathe. Now picture this. You're holding a delicate butterfly in your hands. If you squeeze too tightly, you risk crushing it. But if you gently open your palm and let it rest, it stays with you longer. The same applies in relationships. When someone asks for space, you have to loosen your grip. The more you hold tightly, the more they feel the need to escape. But when you allow them that breathing room, it's more likely they'll come back, ready to engage with you more fully. Respecting their space doesn't mean shutting them out or pretending you don't care. It's about trusting that they need time to process, to reflect, or to recalibrate. It's about understanding that relationships thrive on balance. Just as a flower needs sunlight and fresh air to grow, a relationship needs space to flourish. In moments of doubt or temptation to reach out, remind yourself of this mantra. I trust the process. Trust that by allowing them space, you're giving the relationship room to breathe and grow. Repeat this affirmation to yourself and put it in the comments below if you're committed to embracing the power of patience and respect. Think about it like building a house. If you rush through the construction, cutting corners and neglecting the foundation, the whole structure could collapse. But if you build with care, laying each brick thoughtfully, you create something lasting. Respecting someone's space is like laying a strong foundation. It requires patience, foresight, and a willingness to let things unfold naturally. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, wisely said, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Loving someone with all your heart doesn't mean smothering them. It means letting them have the room to grow, to be themselves, and to come back when they're ready. It won't always be easy. You'll feel the urge to reach out, to ask questions, to fix things. But remember this, every time you choose to respect their space, you are showing strength and maturity. You're saying, I trust you enough to give you the time you need to figure things out. This is the silent act of love that creates a solid foundation of trust and respect. If you've made the mistake of overstepping their boundaries, don't be hard on yourself. We all make mistakes in relationships. The key is recognizing it and choosing to do better next time. Acknowledge your actions with a simple, I realize I may have been too forward, and I respect your need for space. This small step can go a long way in mending the situation. Remember, relationships are not a race. They're a journey. Rushing to close the distance between you only increases tension. By respecting their space, you're actually deepening your connection. You're demonstrating emotional maturity, understanding that both of you need room to reflect, recharge, and come back together stronger. The best relationships are the ones where both people feel free to be themselves. Respecting each other's space is one of the most loving and mature acts you can offer. So take a deep breath. Repeat after me. I trust the process. Let that affirmation guide you as you navigate this moment with wisdom and grace. If you're ready to embrace the power of respect and patience, throw "I trust the process" in the comments below, and let's walk this journey together. Number 3. Don't ignore them in return. Avoid playing games. Imagine being on a tightrope, walking carefully across a high wire. The other person, in this metaphor, is already starting to lose their balance and step away from the wire. You feel the pressure, the urge to act, and your instinct is to react, perhaps to let go of the rope and step back yourself. But what happens then? The balance is completely lost, and you both fall. Ignoring someone in return is like cutting your own tether. It doesn't protect you, it just leads to a deeper fall. When someone begins to distance themselves, it's easy to feel the urge to mirror their behavior. They stop texting you, so you stop texting them. They don't call, so you decide to play the silent game too. It seems like a way to regain control or to show them how it feels, but here's the truth. It's not control you're gaining. You're simply giving up your power in a different way. Playing the game of ignoring them in return only breeds confusion, hurt, and frustration. It doesn't open up any space for resolution or understanding. It builds walls that become harder to break down. Think of it as a tug of war, where both sides pull, but no one wins. Instead of reconciling, you're just further entrenching yourselves in silence, resentment, and misunderstanding. The longer you play this game, the harder it becomes to reach the other side. Now imagine you're trying to save a spark of flame that's fading. You wouldn't throw water on it to prove a point, right? No, you'd shield it from the wind, nurture it, and give it space to catch again. It's the same with relationships. If they're pulling away, matching that distance with your own silence or games isn't going to protect what you have. It'll just make it burn out. Resist the urge to play this back and forth game of silence. Instead of responding with coldness, take the higher road, show maturity. Send a simple, thoughtful message that communicates both your respect for their space and your openness to reconnecting. Something as straightforward as, "I've noticed you need some space, and I respect that. I'm here when you're ready to talk," shows that you're handling the situation with grace, not petty retaliation. When you feel the urge to mirror their behavior, remind yourself with this mantra: "I choose connection over games." Throw that affirmation in the comments below if you're committed to embracing maturity over petty competition. It's not about who can play it cool or act indifferent. It's about valuing the connection and keeping the door open for understanding. Picture this. You're walking in a vast desert, and the person you care about is heading in the opposite direction. If you start walking away too, how will you ever find each other again? The only way to bridge that gap is to stop, stay grounded, and make your presence known. Ignoring them in return only deepens the distance, leaving you both stuck in isolation. As Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This isn't just about hearing what they say, it's about creating space for honest, open communication. Ignoring them doesn't open that space, it closes it. And without communication, how can you possibly repair the relationship? It's not easy to resist the temptation to play games when your emotions are running high. It feels like self-protection to meet them where they are, but in reality, It's just avoiding the vulnerability that true connection requires. Relationships are not about proving a point or outlast each other's silence. They're about building trust, emotional safety, and understanding. Choosing authenticity over retaliation is where the real strength lies. If you've fallen into the trap of ignoring them, don't be too hard on yourself. We all make these mistakes in the heat of emotion. The key is to own it and course correct. You can always reach out with sincerity, saying something like, "I realize I might have reacted the wrong way to the distance, and I'd like to approach this differently." This kind of humility and honesty not only demonstrates emotional maturity, but it also opens the door to reconciliation. Remember, playing games may feel satisfying momentarily, but it never leads to the deeper connection you truly want. When you choose to resist the urge to play these games, you're choosing the path of understanding, respect, and real growth. So, the next time you're tempted to ignore them in return, take a deep breath and repeat this mantra: I choose connection over games. Let your actions reflect your commitment to authenticity and show that you're ready to navigate relationships with wisdom and grace. If you're ready to step into that space of maturity and connection, throw "I choose connection over games" in the comments below, and let's spread this message of true relational strength together. Number 4. Don't sit in the dark, waiting for them. Imagine you're in a dark room, waiting for someone to turn on the light. You sit there, motionless, hoping they'll come back and illuminate the space for you. But the longer you sit in that darkness, the more you start to question, will they ever come back? The light never comes, and in the silence, the shadows grow deeper. This is what happens when you sit idly by, waiting for someone else to make the first move or fix the situation for you. The longer you wait, the more your own energy, confidence, and clarity fade away. When someone distances themselves, it's tempting to stay in limbo, waiting for them to return, to reach out, or to make things right. You wait, hoping for a signal, a call, or a text that will somehow resolve everything. But here's the harsh truth. Sitting in the dark only leaves you more frustrated and disconnected. You're putting your life on pause, waiting for someone else's decision to define your next step. But waiting for someone else to act is the quickest way to lose touch with yourself. If you want things to change, you can't just sit there and wait for the light to shine. You need to take control of the situation for yourself. Sitting in the dark is a passive act. Taking action is empowering. Instead of waiting for them to reach out, take the initiative to better understand the situation. Focus on your own growth and shift your perspective. Don't wait for them to validate your worth or for external circumstances to change. Create your own light. Make a conscious decision to move forward, regardless of whether they're with you or not. Imagine this. You're at the edge of a beautiful garden, but you've been stuck at the gate, just waiting for someone to open it for you. The gate's not opening, and you've been standing there for days. But if you take the initiative, you'll see that the gate wasn't even locked. It was just waiting for you to push it open. Your growth, happiness, and clarity are all within your reach, but only if you choose to step away from the darkness and take action. It's not about chasing them or forcing a resolution, but about taking care of yourself and your own needs. The energy you spend waiting in that dark room could be better used elsewhere, on your goals, passions, and personal development. The more you focus on your own journey, the brighter your light becomes, and when you stop waiting, you'll begin to attract the right energy back into your life, whether that person returns or not. In moments like these, it's essential to remind yourself, I control my own light. You don't need someone else to define your worth or dictate your path. Don't wait for them to make the first move. Instead, make your own move towards self-love, growth, and action. If you've been sitting in the dark, waiting, don't worry. This is your chance to step out of the shadows and reclaim your energy. Remember, waiting on someone else to fix things doesn't empower you. It leaves you stuck in a cycle of indecision and self-doubt. So choose to take the reins and step out into the light. If you're ready to stop waiting and start living with purpose, type "I control my own light" in the comments below. Let's break free from the darkness and move forward with intention, clarity, and confidence. Number 5. Don't explode in anger. Picture this. You're holding a match in your hand, and as frustration builds, you strike it against the box, feeling the spark of anger ready to ignite. In that moment, it seems like the heat of your fury might finally release all the pressure you've been holding in. But as the flame flickers, it's no longer in your control. The fire spreads, catching everything around it, consuming not just the problem, but also your peace, your connection, and your sense of self. This is what happens when you let anger erupt in the heat of the moment. It feels powerful at first, but in the aftermath, you're left with nothing but destruction. When someone starts pulling away, it's easy to feel hurt, rejected, or misunderstood. And in that emotional turmoil, anger often emerges as a quick way to protect yourself from feeling vulnerable. But here's the thing, anger is a double-edged sword. Sure, it might seem like the right response at the time, but like fire, it only leaves devastation behind. Exploding in anger doesn't fix the situation. It deepens the divide and often causes more damage than the initial problem ever could. Think about it. When you lash out, your anger becomes the focal point. The conversation stops being about understanding each other or resolving the issue. Instead, it turns into a battle over who's right, who's more hurt, or who can yell the loudest. Your words, whether you're raising your voice, blaming, or accusing, leave permanent marks. You might win the argument, but you'll lose the connection. And once those words are out, there's no taking them back. When anger takes over, it feels like you're fighting for control. But here's the truth. The real power lies in restraint. Pausing before you react gives you the strength to choose your response, rather than being swept away by the flood of emotion. Remind yourself, this moment is temporary, but the impact of my words lasts forever. It's an affirmation that helps you regain control and stay grounded, no matter how strong the urge to lash out becomes. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pelts your face, but instead of trying to fight it, you stand firm, rooted to the ground. The storm may rage, but you don't break. You bend, but you don't snap. That's what staying calm in the face of anger looks like. It's the quiet strength that allows you to weather emotional turmoil without losing yourself. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This reminds us that our emotional reactions are within our control, and even in moments of intense frustration, we have the power to choose peace instead of chaos. Sure, it's not easy. It's a challenge to keep your cool when emotions are running high. But every time you resist the urge to explode, you strengthen your emotional resilience. You learn how to be the calm in the storm, rather than being swept away by it. And that's true strength. If you've already lost your temper and said things you regret, don't beat yourself up. The key is to learn from it and make a conscious effort to do better next time. Take responsibility for your actions and, if necessary, offer a sincere apology. Growth isn't about never making mistakes. It's about learning from them and using those lessons to improve. Remember this, you're not a match waiting to be struck. You're a mountain unwavering in the face of the storm. Repeat to yourself, this moment is temporary, but my words are permanent. If you're ready to take control of your emotions and respond with strength, grace, and self-respect, drop the affirmation in the comments below. This moment is temporary, but my words are permanent. Let's stand strong together, knowing that peace, not anger, leads us to the solutions we seek. Number 6. Don't blame yourself excessively. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, holding a rope that's tethered to the ground below. With every step, you pull on the rope, convinced that you're the one holding it all together. You wonder, did I say the wrong thing? Did I not try hard enough? Am I not enough for them? But the more you pull, the more the rope tightens, strangling you, and you realize this weight isn't yours to carry. This is what excessive self-blame feels like when someone pulls away. You take on all the responsibility for their actions, shouldering the emotional burden until it becomes overwhelming. It's natural to ask yourself if you played a part in the distance, but there's a big difference between self-reflection and drowning in guilt. When you blame yourself excessively, you give up your power and perspective. You start to believe their distance is entirely your fault, when in reality, there are often factors beyond your control at play. When you carry the weight of guilt, it distorts your view of the relationship. Instead of seeing it as a complex dynamic involving both people, you begin to think the entire situation revolves around your shortcomings. This only hurts your sense of self-worth, leaving you stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and self-doubt. It's essential to remember that relationships are never one-sided. While your actions matter, so do theirs. You cannot control how someone else feels or reacts, and their emotional journey is theirs to navigate, just as yours is yours. Rather than asking, "What did I do wrong?" shift your focus to, "What can I learn from this?" Growth is born from understanding, not from endlessly blaming yourself. Self-compassion is the key to healing. So, instead of holding on to guilt, release it and embrace kindness toward yourself. Imagine this. You're standing in front of two doors. One is labeled guilt, leading to more self-punishment, confusion, and stagnation. The other is labeled self-compassion, offering a path toward growth, healing, and freedom. Which door will you choose? Let go of the burden and walk through the one that leads to peace. Remind yourself, I am worthy, regardless of their actions. As the wise philosopher Rumi once said, don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in new form. What you perceive as loss or rejection is often just an opportunity for growth in disguise. Your worth does not depend on someone else's behavior, nor should it be determined by how they choose to navigate their emotions. Their distance doesn't define you. If you've been blaming yourself excessively, it's time to stop. Set the rope down, release the guilt, and give yourself the compassion you deserve. You don't need to carry the weight of their distance on your shoulders. Trust that you are worthy, whole, and deserving of peace regardless of their actions. Drop the affirmation, I am worthy, regardless of their actions in the comments below, if you're ready to stop the cycle of self-blame and begin a new chapter of self-compassion. Number 7, don't post on social media to get their attention. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror, holding a flashlight, hoping that the beam will somehow reach someone far away. You shine it in different directions, trying to catch their attention, but all you're really doing is lighting up your own reflection. Posting on social media in hopes of getting someone's attention works much the same way. You're desperately trying to make an impact from a distance, but the connection remains hollow and disconnected. When someone pulls away, the instinct to be noticed can feel overwhelming. You might think that sharing a picture of yourself out with friends, posting a cryptic message, or broadcasting how amazing your life is will spark their curiosity or make them jealous. But here's the hard truth. These attempts rarely achieve the intended result. Social media isn't a genuine conduit for connection. It's a platform where, instead of building closeness, you risk appearing desperate or manipulative. And even if the other person does engage, the interaction feels inauthentic. based on performance rather than honest communication. When you post to grab someone's attention, you're not just distorting the reality of the situation, you're also putting yourself in a position where your self-worth is tied to external validation. You give away your power, hoping a like, a comment, or a share will fill the emotional void, but it only leaves you feeling more empty. True connection is built on trust, direct communication, and authenticity, not on carefully curated posts designed to elicit a response. Instead of seeking validation through a digital stage, choose real, direct communication. If you have something to say it clearly, with respect, and without the need for games. If they've asked for space, honor that request rather than circumventing it with indirect tactics. Authenticity, not manipulation, creates lasting connections. Think of yourself as a tree in a quiet forest. It doesn't need to shout for attention. Its presence is felt by those who seek it. The more rooted and grounded you are in your own value, the more likely others will be drawn to you, not out of curiosity, but because they recognize your strength. When you focus on your own growth and peace, you radiate a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any post ever could. As the philosopher Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In this case, self-worth doesn't come from attention or validation. It comes from knowing your own value, independent of others' reactions. Instead of reaching out for the temporary fix of social media validation, center yourself in your own strength. If you've already posted with the intention of grabbing someone's attention, don't be hard on yourself. Recognize the lesson. True connection comes from genuine, direct interaction, not digital displays. Let go of the need for external validation and remember, you are enough, just as you are. Throw "I am enough" without validation from others in the comments below if you're ready to stop seeking attention through games and start building connections that are grounded in authenticity and respect. Number 8. Don't neglect your own life. Imagine you're holding a beautiful, intricate puzzle, each piece representing a part of your life, your career, your passions, your friendships, your health. Now imagine putting the entire puzzle aside, ignoring all the other pieces because you're focused solely on one missing corner. While you're obsessed with finding that one piece, the rest of the puzzle sits incomplete, gathering dust. This is what happens when you put your life on hold for the hope of someone returning. When someone distances themselves, it can be tempting to make them the focal point of your universe. You stop working on your own goals, you shelve your passions, and you let your friendships fade as you wait for them to come back. It feels like if you just focus on them long enough, everything will eventually fall back into place. But here's the hard truth. Neglecting your own life doesn't make them come closer. In fact, it does the opposite. It drains your energy, dims your light, and makes you lose touch with the person you were before they pulled away. The best relationships are those where both people are thriving independently. When you stop waiting for them to show up in your life and start showing up for yourself, you reawaken your own power. Instead of stagnating, you grow. Your career flourishes, your friendships deepen, your personal goals accelerate. And guess what? When you're living your life with purpose and passion, not only do you feel more fulfilled, but you also become more attractive as a partner. It's like a garden. If you stop watering your plants, they start to wilt. But if you continue to nourish everything around you, your garden flourishes, even if one flower seems to be struggling. You don't need to neglect your entire garden to focus on a single plant. Instead, trust that the more you pour into your own growth, the more you have to offer in any relationship. Think of a tree that stands firm in a storm, its roots deep and strong. It doesn't lose its strength when the wind blows. Instead, it becomes more resilient. Be that tree. Invest in your personal growth, your well-being, and your goals. Remember, as the poet Rumi said, "Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in new form." By focusing on your own journey, you're creating space for new growth and new opportunities, both personally and in your relationships. If you've been neglecting your life while waiting for someone else, it's time to pick up the pieces again. Start small, revisit an old hobby, set a new personal goal, or simply spend time with the people who make you feel alive. Repeat this affirmation: I grow stronger by living fully. Throw it in the comments below if you're ready to take the first step in nurturing your own life, reconnecting with your passions, and reclaiming your joy. Your life is waiting for you to live it. Don't put it on hold. Number 9. Don't involve others in the situation. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet pond, tossing in a handful of pebbles, hoping they'll land in a perfect pattern. But instead, the ripples stretch out in every direction, each one distorting the original intent. This is what happens when you bring other people into a personal situation. Your emotions, your message, and your intentions get spread too thin, and the clarity you sought is lost in the chaos. When someone pulls away, the temptation to seek validation from friends or family can feel almost irresistible. You want answers, reassurance, or maybe even someone to take your side. It might feel comforting to vent or ask others to intervene, but involving others in a situation that's meant to be handled privately only complicates things. Rather than fostering understanding, it invites opinions, judgments, and sometimes even gossip that only muddies the waters. The more you involve others, the more you risk losing trust and intimacy with the person you're trying to reconnect with. Imagine how they might feel knowing that their private struggles are being shared with others without their consent. It could make them feel exposed, misunderstood, or even betrayed, pushing them further away. Relationships thrive on direct, respectful communication, not on passing the message through a third party. Instead of turning to others, take a step back and focus on handling the situation yourself. If the person has pulled away, honor their need for space. When you're ready, approach them with calmness and clarity. Be direct and make the conversation between the two of you, free of outside influence. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. By navigating the storm yourself, you build resilience and trust. If you've already shared too much with others, it's not too late to course correct. Politely let friends and family know that you'll handle the matter privately from now on. Reclaim your power by taking responsibility for the conversation ahead. Repeat this affirmation: I choose trust over interference. Throw it in the comments below if you're ready to embrace privacy and take control of your own emotional narrative, keeping your relationships intact and grounded in mutual respect. Number 10. Don't assume it's the end. Imagine you're climbing a mountain and halfway up, the path becomes rocky and difficult to navigate. It's easy to feel discouraged and think that the summit is too far or that you've reached a dead end. But if you stop there, you'll miss out on the breathtaking view that's waiting for you at the top. This is what it feels like when you assume that the distance someone has put between you signals the end of the relationship. It's not over, it's just a tough stretch in the journey. When someone steps back, it's natural to jump to conclusions and assume the worst. Your mind spirals, thinking, they don't want me anymore, this is the end of the line. But most of the time, their pulling away is just a temporary phase, like a momentary cloud that blocks the sun, not the end of the day. Distance can be a time for personal reflection, space to deal with their own emotions, or simply a break needed for growth. It doesn't mean the relationship is doomed. By assuming it's the end too soon, You may close doors that should remain open. You might react in ways that push them further away, act impulsively, or withdraw in fear. This mindset feeds anxiety and makes it nearly impossible to stay grounded and open to the possibility of things improving. Relationships ebb and flow, just like the tide. A break in the rhythm doesn't signal the end. It's a pause that can lead to renewal. Think of a river. Sometimes it's calm and steady. Other times it's turbulent. But regardless of the current, the river always moves forward, finding its way to new paths and possibilities. Assuming that the river has dried up during a rough patch stops you from seeing the potential for transformation. The course might shift, but the journey isn't over unless you decide to stop paddling. As the philosopher Heraclitus said, the only constant in life is change. The natural flow of relationships involves change, and sometimes distance is simply part of that process. If you've already started assuming the worst, it's time to recalibrate. Breathe, pause, and remind yourself, this moment of uncertainty is just part of the bigger picture. It doesn't define the entire relationship. Instead of jumping to conclusions, let the situation unfold. Take one step at a time. Stay open to the possibility that what feels like an ending may, in fact, be the start of a new chapter. Repeat this affirmation. I trust in the flow of life. Let it remind you that, just like the river, the journey continues. If you're ready to stay open to what's ahead, throw "I trust in the flow of life" in the comments below. And remember, the story isn't over, and some of the most beautiful parts of your journey may come after a bit of uncertainty. Final thoughts. As we wrap up these powerful lessons, remember this: every bump in the road, every moment of uncertainty is an opportunity to grow, stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Relationships are about more than just the connection with others. They're about the deep connection you cultivate with yourself, the lessons you learn along the way, and the resilience you build when facing challenges. If any part of this resonated with you, or if these words gave you the clarity you needed, please don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to show your support, subscribe, and join a community of growth where we uplift each other to become the best versions of ourselves. And share this message with someone who might need a reminder today, because you never know who might be silently waiting for exactly this type of encouragement. Together, we can create a ripple effect of healing and understanding that extends far beyond what we see. Your engagement, your willingness to reflect, and your commitment to growth fuels this mission. So, let's keep spreading the light, one word at a time. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until next time, keep growing, stay grounded, and never lose hope. The best chapters are still ahead.